Hey everybody, it's Jameson. I am so excited to dig into a project here that I've been a little busy with some other things like my Christmas decals that I've been working on, but I'm finally getting back into doing some other work, and I have been sitting on, let me grab this, a package of these beautiful Murini and sea shapes, if you will, underwater shapes from Tabitha Burrell from Glass by Tabitha. Her stuff is just simply amazing, and you've seen me use some of her things in previous videos, but now she's come out with this line of look at that little fish. So all this kind of underwater sea creatures. Now she has a lot of stuff that's in COE 90, but my understanding is she was going to start producing some in 96 as well. She sells both, so you just have to go to her website and check it out. She also sent me some beautiful pulls here that I could use to make some plants and coral reef and such. So I'm dying to play with this, and I wanted to just show you what I was going to do. She also has a ton of videos on YouTube. I'll post a link in my video description to her YouTube channel if you haven't seen her stuff. She's done some amazing projects with this underwater line. And so now I'm going to tackle my own. So I have a 10 by 10 sheet here of blue turquoise tint from Bullseye. I kind of liked the color that I got here, and I've got a shadow box. So I intend to create something that is going to be a little bit free-forming in terms of shape, and then I'm going to mount it in a shadow box frame, so I'll show you that later. So I've got my base piece of glass here, and this is just a 3mm sheet of glass, so I recognize that when I take this to a full fuse, and I'm going to do that, and I'll show you here in a little bit why, but it will pull in a little bit, but that's okay, because I'm excited about kind of the organic nature that this might take. I have gone through my scrap glass and found some rolled edges that I like in different colors, and so what I'm going to do is cut them to size. I've got, this one's a little short, but that's okay, because I'm going to kind of fill in with some some underwater plant life anyway. And so I'm going to put those on here. I'll affix them with some glue. I'll get to that in a bit, but I've kind of picked out my colors and the direction of the pattern here that I want them to take to kind of create a little bit of a sea floor. And I'll add some frit and Murini and other things later in another fuse. And I have some clear glass circles here that I've had pre-cut for some other work. So these are water jet gut circles. You could certainly cut your own, or you don't even have to do this with circles, really. But I've had a lot of fun playing with copper carbonate, which is kind of a turquoisey powder that gives you some amazing bubbles when you take it to full fuse. So what I will do in the next segment here is show you how I'm going to apply that and incorporate it into this panel. Okay, I've taken my mask off so I can show you what I'm working on here, and then I'm going to put it back on to finish my project. But I've cleaned up all my glass over here. I've got my round circles that I've also cleaned up. And what I've done is, this is Tecta, so there's a little bit of texture on one side, it's a little flat on the other. So on the texture side, I've just elevated my disc here. I've got a little bit of liquid hairspray, just totally cheap hairspray that you buy at the dollar store. And I'm just running a little, I put it in a needle nose bottle, and I just run a little bit on my glass, and then I'm just using my finger to kind of spread it out, because I really don't want, I just want it to be, kind of generally coated. Honestly, I could probably just use the hairspray's pump bottle and just, one to give kind of a mist over that. That's all I really want. Then here is my copper carbonate. I happen to get this off of eBay. I know a lot of people use copper oxide. I just happen to buy copper carbonate. I like it. It works well for me, so that's what I use there. And the principle here is a very, very, very small application. I don't know how much I can stress that. So I have one here that's been completed. There is just some very light powder. You can see a lot more glass available or to see here than powder, and try not to get large clumps. So I've got a small sifter here. It's just a very small amount. I'm going to hold it up real high so that this just kind of finely mists down, if you will, or drifts down onto my glass without a lot of clumps. So I'm going to tap it very lightly. I'm doing this over paper so that I can reclaim this powder. I swear to God, this bottle of copper carbonate will last me until I'm dead because I use so very little of it. But I'm just very lightly tapping my sifter and just getting, this looks like, little salt, bits or something, just a little bit. You really don't want, too much. And so, and this powder is so fine that I even, when I fill my sifter, I fill it over the paper here, because look, a whole bunch of it comes out. So you just don't want to do that over your glass. And then, I don't know that you can see this particularly well, but then you end up with a nice thin layer. And the reason I'm using hairspray is because I want this to stick, because of the way I'm going to apply it to my glass here in just a little bit. So I'm going to finish up the last one and show you the next step. Okay, so I've cleaned up all my glass, and what I'm going to do is affix my pieces. And I really don't want to put a ton of glue on this. I'm just trying to help get it over to the kiln in a safe fashion. So I'm going to use a little bit of clear Elmer's glue. The white, kind of, you get questionable results. I don't mind the clear, but I'm just using a couple of dabs. And so I'm just going to do a little bit on probably the edges of this piece. Now, this piece I'm going to just kind of float into the middle here, because I intend to fill in the sides with some other pieces of glass in a future round into the kiln. So for the first firing, I'm just going to kind of center that since it doesn't fit. The rest of my glass is actually cut to fit. So colors, this was the light turquoise tint, or turquoise tint on Bullseye. I believe this is scrap, but I didn't have it marked. I believe this is just Bullseye's straight turquoise. This is a little bit of their peacock, which I think is always so pretty. So I'm just going to do just a little bit of the glue to kind of, well, I'm not sure that that glue is even touching where I needed it to touch. In fact, let me just use my finger to kind of spread that up in here. Again, I don't want a ton of glue on this. I'm just trying to get it from this workbench where I'm filming this over to my kiln later, and so that's the only intention really. So we'll see if that'll be enough to get me there. This was robin's egg. I just love these rolled edges for pieces like this. Now for this, I need to do a full fuse schedule on the powders to get the bubbles to fully develop the way I want them to. So with that in mind, I am recognizing that my edges down here, my rolled edges, may end up kind of slumping or full fusing in more, and I'm certainly not going to have the same texture, but that's okay, because I'm really trying to get just the imagery here of the way these are overlapping each other, and so the colors will overlap nicely. And then I'm going to add so much more texture to this piece later with an annealing schedule that's going to get more and more lengthy as we go. So we'll talk about that later in the video. I'm just kind of trying to make sure that I've got this all squared up such. I need to move this down a little bit more. There. So now my final piece is French vanilla here, and I think that this will be a nice, I don't know, sand kind of representation here at the very bottom. And I just liked, you know, that's part of the glass process is color selection, and I just went through all of my scraps and picked stuff out and kind of made a judgment call. Hopefully it comes out and we see it nice. I think this robin's egg blue and the French vanilla may react right along that line there, but that could look kind of cool as well. So I'm okay with that. All right, so now those are kind of tentatively set on there. And now what I'm gonna do is, I wear a hat all the time, as you know, and I keep bumping my camera with the hat, so sorry about that. Okay, so now these are my circles, and this is the powder that I've applied. What I'm gonna do is you're simply capping this powder and trapping it within your piece. And so I'm just laying these face down, and I don't want there to be powder outside of this design really. So I'm hoping as I do this, I get it, oh, that's right on the edge. So let me move this over just a little bit. That powder kind of will create, if you've got it on your raw glass and it's not capped, it's gonna create this kind of dark spot that's perhaps a little rough, and I don't want that. I want it capped. So now by doing this shape this way, the goal, we'll always see if it turns out the way I want, but my goal here is that this copper carbonate is going to turn this beautiful turquoise color, and it's going to bubble and create air bubbles, but the cap will have trapped those in there. So when this comes out of the kiln, I should have 3 areas of these beautiful bubbles that represent kind of an underwater scene, I think. So I'm going to take this into the kiln. I'm going to do a full fuse on this, which means for me, I'll probably go 1475. And I got to think about how long I hold it, but I'll probably hold it for about 20 minutes maybe, and then take it back down. So I'm going to work on my kiln schedule. As always, I put my firing schedules in the video notes. If you don't know how to get to the video description or video notes, look at the very top of the screen here. I'll put a link to a short video I did to show you how to do that. So this is going to go into the kiln. I'm going to put it on some paper and fire this, and we'll see what it looks like when it comes out. Fingers crossed. Okay, here it is out of the kiln. Let's see. See if I can make room here. So I'm very pleased with how this turned out. As I expected, there was quite a lot of glass here at the bottom, so this kind of bowed out. This kind of shrunk in just a little bit. I did after I think I filmed this, I did go ahead and add some coarse turquoise frit just to give some kind of blotchiness here, almost give you a bubble sense. But check out the bubbles and how this turned out. So you can see how little powder I used and how much bubbles this made, and I just think they're beautiful. They're that beautiful turquoise color, kind of fits in well with the turquoise tint and the pieces of turquoise that I got. So I'm very pleased with this. So as a base, this is ready. So now what I'm going to do is start just filling this thing up. So I've got again, all the kind of sea life underwater pieces that I received from Tabitha. She also sent me some beautiful vitrograph. I really want to fill this thing up with color, so I'm going to use a lot of this. I also have some other vitrograph that's off to the side here that I've just been collecting over time, so I may use some of that. I also have some other pieces from Tabitha, little bits and pieces and cut-offs and stuff that she's given me, or that I've purchased from her in the past that I've gotten from her. I also have, let's see here, a whole bunch of different confetti that I've purchased from Tabitha before, so I may use some of that. So a little bit of everything is going to go onto this thing, and then we'll tack fuse it and see what it turns out to look like. Okay. In addition to the other pieces that I already have from Tabitha, I'm also have lots of little bits and pieces that she has sent me in the past that I've purchased from her. She has a lot of like kind of scrap lots and things that I just love. I love to play with these. So I'm taking a page directly out of her playbook. She's done a number of YouTube videos and did some things similar where she took some of these hollows and whatnot and just full fused them, fired them down to see what would happen and what they could look like. And so I just took some select pieces out of my Tabitha collection to do the same. So I'm going to full fuse these and then hopefully be able to use them in some cool way as part of the sea floor. So I'll use these elements after I full fuse them. Okay, I keep deciding to build more things that'll be full fuse because there's some things I'm going to want to tack fuse on, like the fish, but I decided just to have some fun building a little bit of coral and whatnot, just using different Murini bits and kind of arranging them and stacking them. And I don't know what they'll look like when they come out, but apparently I think they're gonna look cool. So this is going in, so I'm just continuing to make components that will go into my final finished piece. Okay, so let me show you what I have here. I have brought my piece in the house because it is so hot in the garage that I wanted to sit in here and work. And so this is the fused blank. I mentioned that I had some other vitrograph. I had several that had these kind of bulbs on them, and I thought those could look cool, so I've pulled those out. I've just started to kind of pre-arrange them to see what I might like to do. I've got, again, all of the pieces from Tabitha. I also have these bubble pieces. I made a bunch of little guys that I wasn't sure what I was going to do with, but now I'm going to add them to this piece. I've shown you all of the elements that I full fused in advance, so I've got lots of fun stuff here to pick from that kind of looks like coral. And then again, I've got the vitrograph pull from Tabitha. So, oh, and one more thing. I've got this frit. This is a frit mix from the Glass Underground, Goldstone frit mix. And I just love their Goldstone mix here because it looks very much like beach sand. So I'm going to put some of that across the bottom. And what I'm going to use to affix all of this is either clear Elmer's glue or probably it's just some good old-fashioned liquid hairspray. So I don't know how this will fully form over the next few minutes. I will film the whole thing and let you watch. And I am going to fill this up. I really want this to be full of color and sea life and be very interesting to study and to look at. So don't be surprised when you see this thing really filling up. Okay, here we are. Made a little bit of mess there at the end. So I loaded up a whole bunch of glue and then just threw a bunch of frit down there. So just kind of made it a sandy mess like the seafloor normally is. You saw all of my arrangements of the little fishes. I just loaded this thing up. I love these guys. They're so cool. I can't wait to fire this. Now, where I have some of this vitrograph that's kind of hanging off the end, like over here, I am gonna put a little bit of a piece of 3mm fiber on the edge so that that doesn't slump down too much. I'll give it a little bit of a ledge, if you will, to kind of sit on and rest on while this fires. I'll probably take it up to about 1350, I think, which is what Tabitha's recommended schedule is. I'll figure that out for sure and then I'll post it. But as I said, I wanted to fill this sucker up. Lots of color, lots of activity, lots of crazy stuff going on and detail, and I can't get enough of it. So I'm very eager to fire this. As you can see, it is a ton of layers, and it's going to be, you know, basically kind of tack fused here at only a 1350. So I'm going to anneal this thing, I don't know, for like the craziest longest time. Honestly, I got to think about it a little bit, but I may anneal this for 6 or 8 hours just to make fully sure that everything is in good shape. So I'll ramp slowly. I will post the firing schedule once I've calculated this, and let's see what it turns out to look like when it comes out. Okay, I just want to show you one more time my layup here before this goes in the kiln. So this is what I was talking about. I put a couple of pieces of fiber paper under there. They may drop just a little bit because there's still some space in there, but that's okay if it's a little bit. I just didn't want them to fall all the way to the kiln floor. So there too, under those big pieces. And then on this piece, I just put a little strip up there, again, just so that they have a little bit of a dimension and they don't fall all the way down to the shelf when this fires. So I'm pretty pleased with this going in. I hope it looks just as gorgeous, if not more, coming out. Okay guys, here's the finished piece. I'm actually filming this in my photo tent because I'm taking some photos, so I'll show you those as well. But I mounted this, I used 6mm Tecta cut and placed behind this, and I mounted it with some not epoxy. This was actually DAP brand marine adhesive. I will post a link to what it is that I use and a photo here. I like this stuff. Hopefully it holds up well. I let it cure for 24 hours. I'm gonna let this piece sit for quite a while before I try to sell it, just to make sure that it's adhered very well. But I am just delighted. I mean, get a load of those fish. The bubbles, I think, work so well to really complement the fish and the underwater feeling. I love how I went off the glass in some cases, and so that gives additional dimension. By mounting it 6mm off the back glass, you get that lovely depth as well. I just picked up a simple shadow box frame from the craft store. I cut my own piece of mat to place behind there. And so this piece is done. I'm so thrilled. Thank you, Tabitha, for making your beautiful product. I just love your style and your skill, and I was delighted to be able to bring it to life in this piece. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you check the video description for details about this project and where to find any of the materials that I feature. And please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share with your friends, and more. I will see you all online again soon. Thanks.